Hello everyone, welcome to Primetime Recaps. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. It will make us happy and help us keep making videos like this. Today, I'm going to be explaining a movie released in the year 2010, titled 22 Bullets. As the movie begins, we see the main character named Charlie Mate, returning from a nice trip alongside his son, Anatoly. As soon as they arrive back to the city, his son pleads with his father to let him alight from the car and watch a busker perform. Charlie acceded and said he'd be with him shortly after he parks his car. Nevertheless, just as he gets to the parking garage, he is ambushed by an 8-man hit squad and they start firing shot at him, leaving him for dead. One of the hit men even shoots a dog that has no business with whatever their mission is. He is still alive surprisingly. Just as he gradually loses wakefulness, he recalls in a flashback from the past when he was still a young guy in prison. An old mobster by the nickname Old Timer, who advised him about living a life of crime. He informs him about the impending danger ahead, adding that there is no getting out once he is in. In the next scene, we see Charlie get rushed to the hospital. The doctors are striving hard to remove all the 22 bullets in his body. Meanwhile, a man named Tony Zakia gets informed about Charlie's health condition. He is a very brutal man, who is also known as being powerful. One tends to ponder if he was the one that sent the 8-man squad to ambush Charlie and kill him. The news about Charlie getting shot is broadcasted on national TV, where the newscaster informs the viewers that Charlie is a retired mobster. As the next scene opens, we see the police captain, Marie Goldman, who picks interest in the case and chooses to be in charge of the case, as well as visit the crime scene. Meanwhile, as Charlie is still undergoing surgery, we see another flashback of his past, which shows when young Charlie found out that Old Timer was killed by his competitor. Following the incident, Charlie alongside his best friends known as Tony and Kareem, resolved to murder a famous mobster named Hernandez, for murdering Old Timer. Before departing to get revenge for Old Timer, the trio takes an oath to remain friends for eternity. They finally get vengeance by killing Hernandez, and their journey into the mob world started after the incident. Now in present time, police captain, Marie Goldman, is advised by her boss to dismiss the case since Charlie is an ex-mafia boss, adding that it is best the police shouldn't get involved and allow them kill each other. She neglects him and continues to investigate the case without any delay. Marie believes that by doing so, she will also get the man who has a hand in murdering her husband. However, Marie alongside her colleague, decides to pay Charlie a visit in the hospital. They start interrogating him, but due to few reasons, Charlie decides not to say anything. She leaves the room in anger as soon as Charlie's lawyer, Martin, walks in alongside with Charlie's most trusted friends, Kareem and Pat. Later that night, as soon as Captain Marie puts her son to bed, she receives a threatening phone call. After the call, she continues the rest of her night drinking as she mourns her late husband. In the meantime, it's obvious that Kareem is really unhappy, and he is determined to get vengeance on the people who had a hand in the shooting. Martin tells him to be patient and wait until Charlie uprouses from his coma. Before leaving, Kareem instructs Martin to keep an eye on Charlie and avoid letting him stay alone. Back at the hospital, a young man creeps into the hospital, pretending to be a medical staff like a doctor. As he pulls out his gun, he opens Charlie's room and fires shot at the patient several times. As soon as the hospital residents hear gunshots, they rush to the room to find the dead body. Nonetheless, the patient who was shot is not Charlie, as Captain Marie had earlier moved Charlie to a different room due to the previous shooting incident. The following day, Captain Marie decides to install a surveillance crew just outside the hospital, due to the recent incident, as she watches Tony and his men walk into the hospital to visit Charlie. While conversing with Charlie, Tony shows that he's at ease to know that Charlie is still alive. Prior to leaving, Tony gives Charlie a greeting card to enable him to know that there are surveillance cameras in his room, and that the police are tracking him in front of the hospital, through an ambulance. After a while, Kareem and Martin visit Charlie at the hospital and takes him along. After observing this, Marie decides to follow their vehicle, but it doesn't take long before Kareem finds out that they're being trailed. With the new development, he then decides to accelerate. He calls a friend of his and asks him to help him out in the situation, and the police lost track. Since Marie is not trailing them in the meantime, Kareem decides to take the car inside an old warehouse, where one of Tony's men is being tied up to a chair. The guy is so frightened that he ends up urinating in his pants. They inform him that no physical injury will come to him as long as he decides to cooperate. He unveils that he wasn't involved in the shooting himself, but Tony, Charlie's best friend, actually sent his men after him. He adds that Tony wants Charlie dead because he retired and left him to run their drug business alone. He says that Tony is scared that Charlie would one day challenge his judgment. Charlie is perplexed after hearing all that he said. Soonest, Kareem advises him to terminate Tony and treat the matter urgently, but Charlie isn't certain yet because Tony is his best friend, and he recalls the oath they swore together when they were much younger. As Charlie delays, Kareem takes Charlie home later, where he is welcomed warmly by his family. Kareem also returns home to his family to have dinner, but that night, as soon as he exits his apartment, Tony's men kidnapped him and takes him away. It is revealed that the man who was tied to the chair earlier on suggested the idea of kidnapping Kareem, and his intention is to make Tony feel pity for him, but instead it causes his misfortune as he is shot dead. After that, they cut off one of Kareem's fingers to send to his family as a warning. Charlie, who is going about with his daily activities as the day comes by, is terribly astonished and devastated to hear about Karen's death. Charlie decides to attend the funeral and witnesses Karen's family in pain over their loss. Charlie becomes really furious and even gets more aggravated after seeing them that way. He swears revenge as he's ready to go hunt the masterminds of the attack, but before he proceeds with his mission, he tells Pat to take his family to where's safe for the main time. At night, Tony's men are having a birthday celebration without feeling any remorse after they tortured Kareem to death the previous night. Their dinner party will be cut short, following that Charlie is now determined to cause chaos even in parties. Just as the men are now disarmed, Charlie gives them one last chance to bid their loved ones goodbye, because in a short while they'll all be dead. He goes further to shoot one of the men who he recognizes through the watch he wears on his wrist, and he promises them that he'll kill them randomly. Charlie walks away free without being followed or attacked. It only shows how frightened they can be while the other men still hide in fear. Afterwards, one of Tony's men decides to visit the dead guy's grave, but Charlie arrives and shoots him just as he earlier promised. It's now clear that he is now out for Tony and his men, so he sends his men to vigorously search Charlie's home and come along the guy and his family. Unfortunately for them, they are not able to find anything. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Charlie is relaxing and having fun with his trusty cat. Martin, the lawyer, arrives at Charlie's house to see it in a disorderly manner. He then quickly goes to inform Charlie about this. Too bad, unknowingly to him, one of Tony's men trails him to Charlie's hideout, and just in few seconds the both of them are surrounded. He tells Martin to leave, as he attempts to delay them temporarily, while Martin tries to elude by using the boat, but one of Tony's men captures Martin and sees him, but eventually, Charlie succeeded in escaping with the means of his motorcycle. Following that, Tony's men pursue him, but instead he collided into a police car, but unfortunately, the police catch him again after his last encounter with them, which reunites him with Captain Marie. During the questioning, to his surprise, the captain unveils a stunning information from her investigation. She informs him that they found different bullets launched into the wall right on the crime scene, which definitely means that out of the 5 marksmen, one of them did not wish to kill Charlie. However, Marie chooses not to arrest him for the main time because she is very certain that Tony was the one who murdered her husband. As the next scene opens, we see Tony celebrating his daughter's wedding that same night. Unknowingly to him, Charlie is just outside his house and manages to capture one of his men before he finally kills him. Charlie orders him to relinquish possession of every data containing Tony's recent drug transactions. After that, he finally ends him. As Tony gets informed about the unfortunate incident, he becomes filled with rage as he leaves the party and head to his drug lab, where he finally exhibits his anger. Tony, who is now even more pissed, and so he instructs his men to get Charlie whether alive or dead. The following morning, which looks like a beautiful bright day, Pat decides to pick up Charlie's children, Anatoly and Eva, from school, and just immediately, a van pulls up next to them and they eventually kidnap Charlie's children, but before moving away, Marie reaches the scene but discovers that she is too late. Afterwards, we discover that the police found Eva and take her into the station. The physically beaten and injured Eva informs them that her younger brother, Anatoly, will be murdered unless her father surrenders himself to Tony. As soon as Captain Marie is departing the station, Charlie hastily enters into the car with her and he pleads with her to assist him generate a fake scenario and broadcast on the TV, with the claim that Charlie has been arrested, in the hope that Tony would stop searching for him and free his son. Charlie then assures her that he would surrender himself to the police once Tony releases his son. Maria concurs to his plan and decides to cooperate. In spite of the plan, as Tony watches the broadcast on TV showing that Charlie has been arrested, he only gets more furious and decides to send one of his men to kill Anatoly immediately, because he feels keeping the boy is of no importance anymore. Unknowingly to them, Charlie is tracking him to the place where Anatoly is being held, with his motorbike. Following this, one of Tony's men is keeping an eye on Anatoly, but instantly he is being told to kill him. Nevertheless, instead of carrying out the mission as he has been instructed, he then decides to free Anatoly, but then the man gets killed by another one of Tony's men. While the guy is dragging with Anatoly, Charlie is still outside, and it shows that he has been caught in a barbed wire and he's seriously trying to free himself. The henchman takes Anatoly outside and puts him into the trunk and starts to drive away. Subsequently, after several blows, Charlie eventually beat him up and takes his son away. As soon as Charlie finally makes it home, he informs his wife that they don't have to hide anymore, because he has finished off all of Tony's men. The following day, Tony is enjoying himself in his house when Charlie walks into his home with a gun. Charlie makes him understand that he's willing to forget everything for the sake of how close they were, despite all the pains he has cost him and his family. Charlie doesn't want to kill Tony, but Tony is still very determined to finish him off. Tony manages to pin him to the ground and presses a gun to his face, but Tony is caught off guard as Charlie seizes the opportunity to gain the upper hand. The police arrived right on time and progresses to arrest Tony for running drug trafficking. Following this, it shows that Charlie has assisted Captain Marie to obtain enough evidence to prove that Tony is guilty of trafficking drug. The following day, Charlie is being interrogated by the police, as it turns out that the police have not been able to find any evidence that proves that he's involved in any drug trafficking. They have no choice other than to release him. Martin warmly welcomes him right outside the station, and he quickly asks Martin to take him to the parking garage where he was shot earlier on. As he arrives, we find out that the henchman who fired shot at the wall the day Charlie was shot was Martin. Charlie, who feels betrayed, aims his gun at Martin, but he decides to plead as he states that Tony never specified on who he want them to murder, he only ordered them. He claims that he was shocked when he found out that it was Charlie they were sent to kill, and he couldn't go through with it. To show gratitude for what Martin had done by not shooting him, Charlie fires shot at the wall as the duo hugs themselves. As the movie ends, we see Charlie and his family having fun at the beach, and they cheerfully show how excited they are by walking into the sunset. I hope you liked the movie. Please turn on the bell icon to be the first to watch our movies when we post contents like this. You can also suggest a movie you would love us to explain in the comments section. Thanks for watching.